Krishna, those who are joining me online, can you hear me okay? Somebody has to confirm. Okay. Thank you everyone for joining for today's session. So let's get started with the prayers. Please fold your hands and repeat after me. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Nidinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Vacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashadadeshdarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So thank you everyone for joining. Today we'll be discussing yet another very important session. This will be the continuation of what we discussed in the last session. So I'll just give you a quick recap on what we discussed in the last session so we can build up. So we were talking in the last session about the art of tolerance. So we discussed the various things that tolerance is not passivity, it is maturity. Maturity to choose the right battle. Not that every battle has to be fought, will be consumed by each and everything. So one should become very intelligent, smart, that which battle to pick, right? And then we should learn to tolerate various things which happens in our day-to-day life. Or scriptures explain there are 6 types of urges: Vacho Vegam, Manasa Vegam, Krodha Vegam, Jiva, Udar, Upastha Vegam. So there is urges to the tongue in terms of speech. And people sometimes they have this habit of talking too much. There is urge, right? Without even understanding and sensing that what to speak, how much to speak, whether to speak or not in some places, and later that to regret. Right? There is a real story of this man who was very aggressive in his own way. So he started a campaign, and this is a real story. I don't know the details, I don't remember the details much, but he started a campaign against the government, and then he was kind of instigating the people that we should raise our voice and this and that. So there was a warning to him from the government that better you stop all this, otherwise you have to face the consequences. He says, I don't care. I have my own ways, my thoughts. Nobody can stop me. So despite multiple warnings, he did not care to change his ways, and finally he was put into the jail. So they thought that now he'll learn his lesson, but in the jail also he was aggressive. There also he was trying to influence the people in his own ways. Again, there were certain warnings were given, but he was very adamant. And finally, they sentenced him to be hanged. And he says, nothing doing, I am not changing. You can kill me, you can hang me, I am not changing. And he goes on speaking negative against the government. The day came when he was hanged. He was about to hang. Finally, the time came, he was hanged actually. Fortunately, the rope on which he was hanged, it broke. And the moment the rope broke, he fell down and he was saved. Now in that country, there is a faith that they're all God-fearing people. So they thought that if he's saved, maybe that is God's will. So we should release him. And they decided to release him. And then all the formalities has to happen in the jail. Some documents has to be signed and all of that. So this prisoner, the person from the jail, the supervisor, he went to some authority and he was signing the paper. So this person, the top man, he was quite curious that, I want to know that what was the reaction of that person when he was almost hanging and any moment he can be killed. And he felt out what was his reaction. And this jail keeper, he told him that it was, when he fell down, he just laughed loudly. And he said that you guys, you doesn't even know like how to manage to make a good rope and what kind of government. Something he just make fun of them. So this is called Vacho Begum. And very insensible to talk all that. He would have happily, get out of the jail. So by hearing the statement, this authority, he got furious. He said this guy has to be killed immediately. And again, he was hanged right there. And this is the real story which says that how those urges, if we don't know how to control those urges, Vacho Begum, it can come at the cost of taking your life. So like that, there's many urges, Vacho Begum, Manasa Begum, Krodh Begum. I think we all have the experience of this Krodh Begum. How many of you do this Krodh, anger? Is there someone who doesn't know what his anger is? I think we all have the first-hand experience. And we all know in our life that nothing good comes out of the anger. Later you have to regret, why did I speak like that? Why didn't I behave like that? So this is Krodh Begum. So Vacho Begum, Manasa, Krodh Begum. Mind just keep dictating 100 things, 100 ideas. You know that you should be focused on certain things. But mind just keep dragging you and you are just watching some reels and doing something. And after only 2 hours you realize, oh my god, I wasted so much time. Mind's dictate. Jiva Begum. Jiva Begum in terms of eating, overeating. We all know we should eat moderately. We should eat the healthy things. But we end up eating sometimes junks, sometimes overeating. And then we have to face the consequences. So like that, there's many urges. So scriptures actually says that one should learn to tolerate all those urges. And the tolerance begins with the regulation. We should practice little discipline, little regulation. So it won't happen suddenly that, now I'll tolerate everything because I heard a lecture. Nothing will happen. You can hear many thousands of such lectures. Unless you start applying some of those one or two things in your life. So the first and the fundamental thing which we should apply, we are talking about Gita applied here, discipline. There has to be discipline for everything, either it is your material life or most importantly, your spiritual life. Make a discipline, like that is what we are doing last 21 days. There is a discipline. 8:30 we'll all come together, chant one round. I would have said that, okay, every day please chant one round. You could have done that. Yes? None of you would have done. That's a fact. Few days maybe in the Josh, but after that, oh, I was busy here, I was busy there, and all of that. And this is how the conditioning is. Just because we set up a time, we made a forum, we created a forum, and now we all come together and we do, and we could do that. This is called discipline. So you should maintain that discipline. Then only this control will happen. So anyway, we are talking about all these different Vedas to be controlled, and last time we were talking about different things. The tolerance is 4 types of tolerance we discussed. Vek Sahishnutta, which is desire to consume. Then there is a Dvandva Sahishnutta, which is desire to control. Then there is Paramat Sahishnutta, which is desire to convince. And then there is Par Utkarsha Sahishnutta, which is desire to compete. And we discussed also that all these desires are unlimited, to consume, to control, to convince, to compete, unlimited desires. And our ability to do all those things are very limited. How much you can consume, how much you can control, it's not in your hand. Certain things probably you can control, but not everything. Right? So it's very difficult. How much you can convince? Sometimes you will be able to convince some people, but not all the time. I don't know if I told this story in the last session or not, but it's a funny story. But just to make the point that, one beggar, it's not exactly beggar, but sadhu. In the earlier times, they will go and do this madhukari. So he goes in a house and he says, Bhiksham Dehi. So one lady came out and then she opened the door, very furious. And he says, just get lost from here. So he did not go, and again he said, Bhiksham Dehi. So this lady again went inside, took some ash. In those days they'll use this coal-based stove, chula. And she took some ash in the anger and she brought, and this sadhu was saying the Bhiksham Dehi in that one cloth. And she threw the dash like that. So this is my Diksha for you. So then the sadhu said thank you and smiled. So this lady became a little intrigued. I treated him so rudely and then he still is smiling and he's thanking. She said, wait for a minute. Like, why did you do that? Like you're smiling and you are not upset. And you're thanking also. Why did you thank me? So this sadhu says, today you gave me ash, tomorrow you can give me cash. So I'm very hopeful. So it's a funny story, but the point is this ability to convince very, very limited. You can just tell the people whether they will do or not. You can say Vikshante, they will give or not. You can tell the people chant daily, they will chant or not. So one should learn that our ability to convince is also very, very limited. But we act in this world as if when I say something, it should manifest. That is not the reality. If you live in that illusion, then you will be miserable at every moment in your life. So you should know. So desire to control, to consume, to convince, and to compete. There's invariably competition is going on. He is better, she is better, my neighbors, my friends. So one should learn to tolerate all these vegas. There are different kinds of sahishnata which have been explained. But the conclusion of the discussion was that all these abilities to do all those things are limited, but we are blessed with one ability which is unlimited. What is that ability? Anybody remembers? We discussed in the last. I'm just still on the recap only. I'm not started today's session. What is that one thing we discussed? You have unlimited. And that is ability to contemplate, chintan. You can go on thinking what I did, why did I do that, and all that. So this ability we have as the humans, that ability to contemplate. And through that contemplation, you can become better and better and better every day. Right. So we should learn to contemplate. Many times, not many times, most of the time people, especially in this day and age, they act mindlessly. They're not even conscious what they're doing. They're not even conscious what they're talking. So one should learn to be little contemplative. So in our scriptures, there are 4 different levels of motivation, 4 different levels of motivation to work in this world. And this is very important concept to understand. What are the motivations? So the lowest level of motivation is called the fear. Most of the people, they work out of fear. Either it is material life or spiritual life. In the fear, you might be doing the job. If you don't do your job well, you will be kicked out. So there is a fear. Right? Spiritual life also, sometimes people go to temple, do some rituals. They're fearful of God fearing people. This is the lowest level of motivation to function in this world. The higher than the fear is called the desire. So most of the people fall in these 2 categories, fear and desire. If I do this, I'll get this. If I don't do this, I may miss out. So fear, desire. Then when you become a little more mature, then the higher level is called the duty. So this is bhaya, ichcha, kartavya. This is duty. When you become a little more mature, you understand that this is my duty. Whether I get something out of it or not, but I'm supposed to do this. So you can think of an example of a small child. When he is too small, always, running to play around, then mother has to threaten sometime. Hey, sit here and do your homework. So he'll sit and do the homework out of fear. He becomes a little grown kid. Then they say, oh, if you get this much, then we'll get you a new bike, a new phone. Then desire. But then he goes to college. There you don't tell that, sit here and do that. He becomes a little more mature, expected to be a little more mature, sometimes he may not. But, at that age, they're a little dutiful. They understand that, my parents have done so much for me, I should be responsible now. I should study well and, do something and then try to give back something to my parents out of duty. So these are the 3 levels, but the highest level of function and the motivation in this world has been considered is the level of love. When somebody functions at the level of love, then there's no other consideration. You just want to do what you are expected to do. And not only you just do, but you go to any extent of compromising, sacrificing on your own comforts. That is called the love. So this love is a very, very powerful principle in this world. Though this love is not it's a very rare commodity in this world. Everybody's talking about love. The movies, the cinemas, the songs, the novels, all love stories. That is a fake love. Or scriptures are also talking about love. You read Bhagavatam, you read Chaitanya Charitamrita, Ramayana, they're also talking about love. So it looks like everybody talking about love, but what is the difference? It is no one and the same love. Two different types of love. One is like the iron, one is the gold. So the love what we see in this material world is like iron. It can be rested at that moment. It is very, very conditional, very relative. Unfortunately, the so-called love in this world is like you scratch my back, I scratch your back. It is transactional. And that is why we see for every small silly things there is argument, there is a fight, there is separation. So many things happens in this world. Because probably there is no real love. But if you want to understand the love, what is the love we should understand from the scriptures. So Srimad Bhagavatam explains the love is the two features of the love. It is called ahetuki apratihata. What is the meaning of that ahetuki? Ahetuki means there should not be any hetu. Hetu means there should not be any reason, there should not be any condition. Oh, if he is a rich person, I love him. Tomorrow he become a poor person, my love is gone. So you never love that person, you only love the richness of that person. Or something like that, just to give the example. So love should be ahetuki, it should be unmotivated, and also love should be apratihata, meaning it should be consistent. Today I love, tomorrow then I'm distracted, then again I love. No, love is not like that. Love is always there. So it should be unmotivated and uninterrupted love, which is very difficult to find in this world. But if you want to see the glimpse of that love, then you can see in this world between the mother and a newly born child. I very consciously did not say that mother and the child. The moment the child grows up, there's a lot of expectations from the mother also. It is not unmotivated. There is a motive. It happens. This is how the condition in this material world is. But there is no expectation from a newly born child. And you see that mother can go to any extent in that love to the child. She can sacrifice her sleep, her comfort, everything. There is nothing called our time for the mother. At 10, 12 o'clock in the night, suddenly the child gets up and cries, mother will attend. Right? So this is the love. So why I'm bringing all this is, it's very important. We're talking about the tolerance. This tolerance cannot be an artificial thing. When you function at the level of love, then you can tolerate anything, like the mother tolerates. She can tolerate the cry of a child at the dead of the night without getting much agitated. She can tolerate the stool and the urine of the child. She cleans, probably multiple times in a day. How the tolerance is coming? Because there is a love. So this is the real state of consciousness or level of the tolerance. So tolerance is not artificial imposition. So no, keep tolerating. If you keep counting like that, keep pushing like that, one day you will burst. But if you invest in that relationship, and if you develop some feelings, some emotions, some love, which are unmotivated, then you will go to any extent to tolerate, the other person. So this love, as I said, is a very, very powerful principle. Most of the people have not realized in this world the power of the true love, because most of the time this true love doesn't exist. So we should learn all this and we should try to bring that to develop in our life. Right? And most importantly, it is very, very essential in any kind of a successful relationship. Right? A relationship does not sustain on the perfection of the people. They say that a perfect guy is the one who works hard, who takes care of the kids, who brings big income, very loving, very affectionate, doesn't fight, doesn't flirt, doesn't cheat, doesn't lie, and doesn't exist. So the person doesn't exist. If you're always looking for someone perfect, you will be always frustrated. So love is not about looking for a perfect partner. It is about accepting the person the way he is, and then come to the terms. Okay, I know that you are like this and I'm like this. So let us just make some arrangement, some settlement. So when that much maturity is there, that love is there, that respect is there, then you will tolerate. Tolerate in the sense, actually tolerance, as I said, that this word has a negative connotation. The moment you hear tolerate, the mind gives a thought that, oh, you should not tolerate, why you should tolerate. So we should go to a point where the tolerance is not a tolerance. It is just a very happy acceptance that requires little maturity. Otherwise, all the time you will be feeling frustrated inside, no, I'm tolerating, and then counting begins. I'm tolerating you so much, you should also tolerate this much, and then fight over the tolerance for me. I tolerated. So at the level of love, this tolerance is not a tolerance. Okay. So when we are talking about this love, this is the highest level of consciousness. For that, one requires a lot of maturity. So in the scriptures, there is 5 different gradations of consciousness has been described. They're called technically Avrata Chetana, which is again the lowest level of consciousness. Avrata Chetana means the covered consciousness. Example, you can think of the plants and the trees. They are also conscious beings, plant and trees. But their consciousness is very, very covered. They can't express, they can't move around even. They're just fixed in a place and they tolerate. So this is called Avrati Chetana, lowest level of consciousness. Next level is called Sankuchit Chetana. Sankuchit means restricted consciousness. You can still express, but in a very restricted way. Example is the animals. See, animals also express. You try to hit them, and they will try to show you something, expression, or they'll run. But they're very, very limited. Beyond that, they can't do much. So this is animalistic consciousness. Sankuchit Chetana. You throw a piece of bread to a dog comes, eat. So somebody kicks the dog while giving the piece of bread. One should not do that, but for example, I'm telling. And then he goes away, he runs away, he feels bad, he runs away. After half an hour, again you show the piece of bread, he'll come. Sankuchit, very restricted. He doesn't understand anything beyond eating. Eating, sleeping, mating, defending. Ahar, nidra, bhaimathum. This is animal level of consciousness. They can't think anything beyond this eating, sleeping, mating, defending. Then, so Avrata Chetana, Sankuchit Chetana, next is called the Mukulit Chetana. At this point, it is a budding stage of consciousness. You start to little expand further. And this consciousness, the example is the human beings. Right? Here you start to little expand. You can express, you can take the decisions, you understand what is right, what is wrong, and all of that. So this is called Mukulit Chetana. So Avrat, Sankuchit, Mukulit, budding stage. Then the next level of consciousness is called Viksit Chetana. So being human is not enough. But when you start to pursue the spiritual path, that is when that Viksit Chetana, you start expanding your consciousness. You get a better perspective, higher perspective. You can think differently. All of that you learn through your spiritual practices. So this is Viksit Chetana, means developed consciousness. And the highest level of consciousness which has been described is Purna Viksit Chetana. Purna Viksit means fully blossomed. Like you see the flower in a budding state and start to develop, and at one point it is fully blossomed. And that time when you look at the flower, it is beautiful, it is colorful, it is fragrant. So that is the highest level of consciousness, where consciousness is very, very fragrant. Otherwise, most of the time our consciousness is stinking. All dirty things in the mind. And gradually when you start to expand from Avrat to Sankuchit to Mukulit, then Viksit, and then finally Purna Viksit. And the example of Purna Viksit is the person, the devotee who is pursuing the path, and once he attains the perfection on that path, that is called Purna Viksit Chetana. And it is equally related to the person is functioning on the level of love. That is called Purna Viksit Chetana. He is in full love with the Lord. And the moment somebody is in love with the Lord, he is in love with everyone. Because his vision is very, very expanded vision. He sees that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, my Master, and everyone in this world, they are all part and parcel of Krishna. So naturally all that hatred in the heart, all kinds of, things just it vanishes in that level of consciousness. So this is the goal, to reach at that level of consciousness, Purna Viksita Chetana, fully blossoming consciousness. We have many examples, and it is very inspiring to see that at that level of consciousness, how an ordinary person, which looks like an ordinary person, but they can do the things which is humanly impossible. That is the power of this fully blossomed consciousness. Think of the example of Srila Prabhupada. He was 70-year-old in 1965. So in 1922, Prabhupada met his guru when he was young. He was 26 years old at that time. He met his guru, and his guru ordered him that you are a young, educated, English-speaking young boy. You should go to the West and share this wisdom of Bhagavad Gita Bhagavatam in the Western world. So Prabhupada started planning from 1922. Prabhupada shares his experience that the moment I met my guru, I could understand that he's not an ordinary person, and I just kind of committed myself. I said my life and soul is for this person, my guru. So his order was to go to the West and then share this wisdom. In those days, it was in 1922. It was not easy that you come to America or any Western countries. A lot of things, still a lot of limitations. Right? So Prabhupada started working from age of 26 in 1922, and he could come only here in 1965. You can just imagine 43 years of struggle and perseverance and endeavors. And it was not straight and smooth, and the people are waiting with the red carpet here to welcome him. There are multiple failures in India. He tried this way, that way, so much of failure, lack of resources and all of that. And finally when Prabhupada came here in 1965, on the way, he came by a ship. He couldn't afford to come through some flights or something. He got a free, the ticket to one ship. And it was almost like around 37 days of journey. So that journey, because of the seasickness, he got 2 consecutive nights heart attacks. He tolerated. In fact, the captain of the ship warned him. He says, Swamiji, better you get down on the way. You will not reach America. Your dead body will reach. And Prabhupada says, let me die in the service of my Guru, but I cannot go back. Right? So the point is, when somebody functions at that level of love, for some higher purpose, the love for the instruction of his Guru, and I'm ready to die to serve the instruction of my Guru, it becomes very natural for him. It's not a tolerance. He's not tolerating. He's already at that level of consciousness. Right? So this is what it can offer. So we're talking about fully blossoming consciousness, which is functioning at the level of love. So I just gave you one example that how somebody can go to any extent. And then it was not easy when Prabhupada came to America, as I said. There was no connections here. It's not like that a lot of people he knew and he already planned and some blueprint is ready. He came here. Prabhupada says when I landed, he landed in Boston. And then he says that I didn't know that whether to go right or left. He just came, 7-day-old man, and with a lot of money, you might be thinking. But Prabhupada was carrying some few dollars, few dollars I think. Somehow we managed, and with those few dollars, means if we hire a taxi one time, it will be over. That was his resource. You can just think that somebody has to be, what kind of daring person one should be. But we can understand the love, one can do that. So in the movies we see, right? Some hero is there and he going fighting with all the villains. It is all real. It's nothing real there. But here we see a real hero, who's so daring, came with few dollars in the pocket, and with no plan, with no connections, with no resources, he just came with that passion, with that purpose that I had to serve my Guru, I had to serve the Guru's instruction. So this is what the love offers. And interestingly, our scriptures like Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, they talk about this love. And they doesn't just talk about this love, they also talk about how one can develop that kind of love in the heart. we all can enable that love in the heart by a certain process. And once you start functioning on that level of love, then this tolerance what we're talking, it becomes very natural response for all of us. So this is what is the real tolerance is. Right. So in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains how to expand your consciousness. We're talking about expanding consciousness, fully blossoming. How to expand. So this verse, this very nice analogy that Krishna uses in the Bhagavad Gita second chapter where he says, Apuryamanam achala pradishtham samudramapa pravishanti yatvat tadvat kamyam rakshanti sarve sashanti mapnoti nakama kami. So this is 2.70 from Bhagavad Gita. Those who want to read, you can read for your reference. So this verse says, this is an example of Apuryamanam achala pradishtham samudramapa. Samudra, you see the ocean? The water in the ocean, it never crosses its brink. So this analogy is used that lot of rivers comes and enter into the ocean. All the rivers goes and enter into the ocean. Despite all these rivers are coming and entering, but still it is not getting agitated in terms of, it is blasting, exploding. It always remains within the rings. How? Because ocean is unlimited. It is so expansive, it can accommodate all the rivers in it. Now this is a very, very powerful example given, and we can use this example in our context while we're talking. Just think of this example of a glass of water. Take a glass of water and add a handful of salt. Okay, probably it won't even dissolve in a glass. Handful of salt, and the butter becomes probably undrinkable. You cannot even drink that butter. It becomes very, very bitter. But the same salt, if it is added in a bucket of water, then probably you can take that water. It will be salty water, but you can manage to drink a little bit. Now the same handful of salt added to a big water tank, you doesn't even feel that saltiness. And if that same handful of salt is thrown into an ocean, nothing happens. It doesn't make any difference. So why I'm giving this example is in connection with what we read the verse. All these containers I'm talking about, the glass and the bucket and the tank and the ocean, it is our consciousness compared to our consciousness. That shows the size of your consciousness. And the salt we are throwing is the challenging situations and the difficulties and the problems which invariably comes in our life, which you cannot control. Very bitter. You cannot consume it. But what you can do, and you cannot control it. Life is throwing all this salt over and again. Right? You have no control. But in the beginning I said we have the control over. You can expand the size of your container. So our container might be of glass size. But through all the sessions and through Bhagavad Gita we are learning how you can turn your glass into a bucket, expand the consciousness, and that bucket can be into a tank and into the ocean. So this is the real solution. If you work on expanding your consciousness bigger and better, bigger and bigger and bigger, then you will see that all the salt which life is throwing, you can very easily. Like it doesn't make any difference if it is oceanic, so then you are not saying I'm tolerating it. It is not even impacting you. So we can reach to that level of consciousness where all these problems, silly things, it just keep disturbing us, keep bothering us. You remain unaffected by that. So what we are doing currently is, unfortunately, we are trying to control the salt. Don't throw the salt. Don't throw the salt. It is coming from this way, that way. It is coming from all direction. You try to control this way, it will fall from here. So you are doing something on the wrong end. Work on expanding the container of your consciousness. And that consciousness, the expanded consciousness, the oceanic consciousness is called Krishna consciousness. Because Krishna has been compared in the scriptures to the ocean. Hey Krishna Karana Sindhu. So this word comes again and again in the scriptures. The Lord is like ocean. So to make your consciousness oceanic, vast, expanded, you have to add the ocean. Add Krishna into your consciousness. And when we say that add Krishna into consciousness, we have to very carefully understand what it means. It is not just every time you keep saying Krishna, 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 which also you should definitely say that, chant Hare Krishna. But it is not just limited to uttering the words, but also understand Krishna's teachings, Krishna's philosophy, Bhagavad Gita. So we had to bring Krishna into our life. Most importantly, Krishna into our consciousness. We have to become Krishna consciousness. Then your consciousness becomes very oceanic. It is very expanded consciousness. And in that consciousness, you remain unaffected by any of those worldly situations. You still deal with all those situations, but without being much affected by all those externals. And this is what is the real solution, right? So many times people say that, oh yeah, this is a nice thing, I want to see Krishna. How to bring Krishna? Can we see Krishna? And all those kind of discussions happens. To answer to all those questions is, yes, we can see Krishna. But probably you cannot see Krishna's face, but you can see Krishna's hand. You can probably see Krishna's role in your life through the lens of scriptures. So Bhagavad Gita says, Vimudha nanu pashyanti, pashyanti jnana chakshusa. If you want to see Krishna, you have to see Krishna through the eyes of knowledge. If that knowledge is not there, then Krishna might be right in front of you and you may miss out. Today morning also we are discussing that how Krishna was there right in front of Duryodhana. He never understood who is Krishna. He's trying to arrest Krishna. Lord Ramchandra was there in front of Ravan. Ravan never understood. Lord is Ram, Lord Ram is Lord. So Krishna might come in front of you, but if you don't have that vision, you don't have that knowledge, then you will miss. So don't try to see Krishna's face, see Krishna's hand in your life. Know from the scripture that Krishna's hand is there at every step of your life. Scripture says, not even a blade of grass can move without the sanction of the Lord. So anything happens, good or bad in your life, from the scriptures you should know, this is Krishna's plan. This is Krishna's sanction at least. If it is not planned, because sometimes you may wonder why Krishna planned this for me. My life has become like a blunder. So you can see that this is Krishna's sanction. So this is how you're bringing Krishna into your consciousness. So we are talking about bringing Krishna. How do you bring Krishna? By this knowledge, Jnana Chakshu. One time this devotee, who was a very, very new devotee in like early 70s. So he joined the temple, one young American boy. And then he was helping. He went to the kitchen and he was helping in the kitchen, serving. He was cutting, chopping the vegetables. So somehow he cut his finger. Little cut and there was a blood. So he was very upset. Not because of pain. He was upset with the idea, hey, what is this? Krishna did not help me. I am doing Krishna's seva in the Krishna's kitchen and still I got my finger cut. Where is Krishna? Why is not protecting me? Why did not he help me? So he was very upset, very new and not very mature in understanding. So then he goes to Prabhupada and he says, Prabhupada, I was doing this and this happened and where is Krishna? Krishna is not protecting you. He said, Krishna protects the devotees. So then Prabhupada says that probably because of your past karma, your throat was supposed to cut today, but you got only your finger cut. So actually Krishna protected you from the greatest danger, some big danger which was awaiting for you. And your big karma is settled through some small little cut in the finger. And this is the knowledge, this is the perspective that we receive from the scriptures. So when we say that Krishna protects, it doesn't mean that there will be no problem in our life, no challenges in our life. But you can still see that Krishna's hand is there. That is why we say that everything that happens in your life may not be good. It's a very important perspective you should always remember. That everything that happens in your life may not be good, but something good can come out from everything that happens in your life. And that's a fact. Right? When you go through some difficult situation, some challenging situations, I think that is when people start exploring more options in their life. Otherwise you are in your own complacency, comfort zone, aram se, eat, drink, enjoy life. Don't grow. Right? So something to grow, it has to break. Right? That I was giving the example that like the clouds looks very beautiful in the sky, Sometimes, there is a tradition of watching clouds nowadays. People just explore, keep exploring. Earlier they used to go to the ocean and sit watching waves. Now they watch the clouds. There's nothing much better to watch in their life, something they do watch or watching some movies. So they watch the clouds. So sometimes the clouds looks very beautiful, right? By watching. But that is not the purpose of the clouds. You just keep watching and they're very nice. But the real purpose is they have to rain. And to rain, cloud to rain, it has to break. So you see, something great has to come out from something. The principle is it has to break. And breaking is painful. This is how this work is. So you see, something is breaking, some painful situation, some difficult situation. It is about to rain. Something great will come out. Right? The rain comes and then we see the crop grows, rice, wheat or something. Sometimes it might look very beautiful. All of those things. But for wheat to be more useful, it has to break. It has to be grinded. Otherwise, wheat might look very beautiful. You can take some nice picture. But to nourish you, it has to break. So this is the principle, right? And then you cook something, you prepare something, and then you plate it, and it looks very beautiful. You don't feel like eating sometimes. So much plating happens. So it is looking so beautiful, I don't feel like eating. But it might look beautiful, but if you want to be really nourished, you have to chew it. You have to crush it. Right? So life is like that. If you want the real growth in your life, you want something in your life, then be ready for all this grinding, crushing, breaking. And see that as that is Krishna's hand. So we're talking about bringing Krishna into our life. So don't try to see Krishna as like, oh, Krishna should appear in front of me, I want to see him. You can't see that. Probably at our level of, our state of consciousness, we cannot see Krishna like that. But when you read Bhagavad Gita, when you understand all this knowledge, then Jnana Chakshusa, you develop that perspective, that vision, that knowledge, wherein you start seeing Krishna in your day-to-day life. Whatever is happening, it is happening by Krishna's arrangement, Krishna's plan. So this is what is Krishna consciousness. That in your consciousness, you can always see and experience Krishna. And when you start seeing Krishna in every walk of your life, then you will see that life is beautiful. No complaints, no regrets, only gratitude, gratefulness. And that life is a beautiful life. Otherwise, we just keep cribbing, keep complaining, condemning, criticizing. Because by default, we have adopted that kind of a life. But we start seeing Krishna's hand. So please remember all those things, because it's easy to talk here in a comfortable, classroom setting, to talk all these nice things. But in the real life, when situation comes, probably we end up cursing Krishna only. Hey Krishna, what is this? There was this man, there's a whole troop actually, they went on an island, exploring and all of that. So one person unfortunately left behind the island and the whole troop left. And he was wandering in the wilderness, oh my God, like I'm all alone, shouting. Nobody's there to even respond him. So he came to the terms with it. He says, this is what is my fate, what to do now? I have to figure out the way. I cannot keep crying and keep complaining. Nothing, there's no help. So he figured out his ways in a few days. He made some small hut, figured out some trees, some berries, and started eating them and surviving. And in some time he became so used to of that kind of life. He was happy, peaceful, going on. So every day he'll get up, he'll go in the jungle, pick some, berries or something, he'll come and do something like that. To his surprise, one day when he came back from his picking, to his surprise, and he found that his small hut, which with a lot of struggle he built, it was on fire. That day he lost his control. He lost his patience, and he looked up in the sky and started cursing, shouting, screaming, God, where are you? Are you there or not? How you can be so cruel? First of all, I was left alone here. Somehow I managed, I did not complain. And still you cannot see me happy here. And you put this thing on fire and this and that. Very, very upset. And he was crying and lamenting, and then after some time he saw that close to the island, he could see that in the water, one ship was coming, racing closer. And he was wondering, like, all of these days, in these months, nobody ever even came closer here. How come? And then the ship came all the way here, and the student shouted, "Hey, come on in. We are here to help you." So he was very happy. He jumped in the ship, and he was wondering, how come today you came? In this many months, nobody came, and these people said that we saw some big clouds of smoke in the sky. We thought, oh, there is a fire on some island. Let us go and see if somebody needs help. So what I'm saying is, like, what seems like a big blunder and disaster in your life might be a turning point in your life for something better. That is the vision that we develop. This is the perspective. This perspective is called Krishna conscious perspective. So this is how we see Krishna's hand in our life, Krishna's role. At every walk in our life, Krishna is actually, navigating our life. So don't think that things are happening by chance, randomly, accidentally. There's nothing called accident in this world. Everything is planned. Some higher forces are working, and we are only the puppets. But if you learn to become dependent on Krishna, then you would have another perspective. There's this real story of Titanic. Some of you might have heard this story. We all know Titanic, right? Famous movie and the whole story. You and me in the beautiful world. And the beautiful world turned into the big disaster in just no time. But there's a real story of this Titanic, not to those, the hero and heroine. It's a real story, which is one Scottish farmer. His name was Mr. Clark. It was in 1912. So some farmer, they're not like rich people. Somehow, when this Titanic was announced, that first voyage, so he was very, very excited. He had the desire that I want to go in that first, this thing. So he started, saving the money and all of that. A lot of hard work, overtime. He saved a lot of money, and finally he would manage to buy the tickets for his family, 4 or 5 of them. Practically, he spent all the savings of his life to secure those tickets, and he was very excited. The whole family was excited. So then it was on April 10th that 1912 that first voyage was supposed to take, and just few days before, one of the child was bitten by a dog of this farmer. Now he went to the doctor. Doctor recommended the quarantine. Said the child cannot go. And how they can leave the child all alone? They are supposed to go into this few days. They are supposed to go to this journey, the Titanic. When the child was bitten, he was wondering, like, is there any way out? He tried whatever he could do. Doctor said, nothing doing, you cannot. At least the child cannot go. If you want to go, go. So finally they made a decision that, none of us, all the family, we cannot leave the child. And then he was very, very disappointed, disheartened that what happened. All my savings are gone. I cannot make it on this journey. So it was on April 10th, 1912, he came there when he was seeing that, the ship was going. And that he cried the tears of lamentation. And he thought, my life is lost. All my savings, money, everything is gone. And it was just 3 days after, it was on April 15th, that news broke. The Titanic sank. That day he was going and wondering, where is the dog? I want to thank the dog. See how the perspective changes? So what seems like a biggest disaster in your life might be a saving grace in your life. You never know. So don't complain that easy. Don't criticize. Just learn something good coming out from that. And that is what is called the expanded consciousness. And that can be practiced only when you learn all this knowledge from Bhagavad Gita. And this can be learned through the practice of Krishna consciousness. So every day you chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra. You become more and more conscious of Krishna. And then gradually start to develop more and more desires to learn more about Krishna and Krishna's teachings, like Bhagavad Gita and the Bhagavatam. Otherwise we are lost in this world with so many things. Right? We are Maya conscious. We are being Krishna conscious. And the moment the Krishna comes into your consciousness is oceanic. And in the ocean you throw the salt, it doesn't make difference. You remain unaffected. You are already at the level of fully blossomed consciousness. And there's nothing seems like tolerating. It becomes natural response. So this is how we should think. One devotee in a temple, he was sharing that one day in the morning, he was going to the office, and the moment he took out the car from the garage, so suddenly what happens is he was reversing the car, and slowly you come down from the ramp, So when he was coming down, slowing down, suddenly he realized that the brake did not work. It was failed. Brake was failed. Somehow something happened. Some axle broke or something happened, and he went straight like going down, and hit somewhere on the road. Fortunately nobody was there around at that time, and he got scared and all of that, and he was thinking, oh, I had to go and I had to rush to the office. He was getting a little disappointed, and then that wife comes from the top because she heard something. She came. So at that moment, this devotee was getting a little upset. Wow, why didn't it happen now? I had to rush some important meeting or something. And this wife came, the devotee Mataji, and she said, oh, I'm so thankful that it happened here only. What if it would have happened on the freeway? See, and the devotee was sharing in that moment, my whole perspective changed. He was like little upset about what happened. But Krishna actually protected him by doing that. It is just a matter of 2-3 minutes. In 2-3 minutes you are on freeway. Something happened there, it can be a big disaster. So like that, every day, if we are very conscious in our life, of course with the knowledge, then you can see that Krishna's hand in your day-to-day life, how Krishna is protecting us. But we should allow Krishna to protect us. Problem is we are too adamant. We say, no, Krishna, we don't need you. We are powerful enough. We are smart enough. We'll figure out our ways. We don't want you. If that is the attitude and that is the consciousness, then Krishna says, okay, go ahead, do it whenever you want. Come back. I'm waiting for you. I've been waiting for you since time of memory for many, many lifetimes, and I still wait more. So we should allow Krishna to help us. Okay, so this is what we are talking about today, expanding our consciousness. And when we are in that expanded state of consciousness, then we can easily tolerate. Okay, so anybody's any question or any comment, you want to add something, you want to ask something? No questions? I explained very well. Yes. Yes. Ask.
In the beginning, you said that there are different levels, right? There is fear, desire, love. Right?
Fear, desire, duty, and love.
Right. So should we do we need to apply that in every area of life, like for the job we are doing, or like is that applicable to every area of life, or just for being in Krishna consciousness?
Just being in Krishna consciousness is like watering the root of the tree. So if you water the root of the tree, every other branch and the twigs and the leaves and the flowers and the roots, everything will be automatically taken care of, it will be nourished. This is what the Krishna consciousness is. So it requires a little bit more understanding in details, but if you truly become Krishna consciousness, everything else will be taken care of. Your material life, your professional life, your relations, and everything can function very well through the Krishna conscious understanding. So this is such a complete, the understanding of the whole life, the perspective. So yes, Krishna conscious can help. The point is we have to become Krishna conscious. For that it takes a lot to understand what this Krishna conscious is, where you can always feel, see, experience Krishna into every walk of your life. That involves little austerity, that needs tapasya, that needs little discipline, perseverance, consistency. Most of us we come in Josh, sessions attended, feel inspired, do something for a few days, then go back to our old style. Not like that. We should be ready for some little discipline and some austerity, and you will see that how more and more you can experience Krishna's hand in your life. Okay? Okay, so thank you everyone. If no questions, we'll do
Krishna Prabhuji, I have a question. Can I ask?
yeah, you can ask.
So you were telling, right, we should be allowing Krishna to help him, we should be allowing Krishna to have his hands in every part of our life. So what are the things where we will be careful that we are preventing that, or how should we be aware that we are doing such and such things, that we are not letting Krishna to interfere in our life or take the decision for us? So is there anything that we should be mindful about?
Yeah, so the question is that when we say allow Krishna to intervene in our life, so how do we make sure that we are not blocking Krishna to intervene or helping us? It is very simple. We have to just keep learning more and more about what Krishna wants, what Krishna says. So when we read Bhagavad Gita, then you understand and you become more and more conscious, and that consciousness is called Krishna consciousness, meaning in everything start bringing Krishna into your life. And very mystically you will see that Krishna will inspire you, guide you through someone, through something, and that is how. So we need not to be all the time saying, oh, whether I'm allowing Krishna now or not, I'm blocking Krishna or I'm allowing Krishna. So we will not go to that level, but we have to just focus on how I'm becoming more and more Krishna conscious. Meaning learning more and more about Bhagavad Gita, what Krishna says, what he wants me to do. How he wants me to live my life. What should be my consciousness, what should be my practices, do's and the don'ts, and all of that. When you become more and more like that, you are actually allowing Krishna to enter in your life more and more. Okay?
Thanks. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So thank you everyone. It was wonderful. It was a nice journey with all of you to discuss all these sessions. And that is not the end of the story. What they say, the movie डालो, picture अभी बाकी है मेरे दोस्त. Right, something like that. So we'll have many more such sessions. I will be announcing that. So next Saturday we are going to this retreat. I think most of you already signed up. Those who are not signed up, you will be missing something great. I know some of them, they couldn't, for whatever reason. We'll send you some recorded video so that you feel FOMO for next time at least. No, that is not the purpose, but I know there might be some practical reasons for some of you not to join, but if you are still considering and thinking, don't think too much, just come. It will be a good experience. It will be kind of a good closing of this session and then good rejuvenation. Bring your spouses and your friends also. And the good part of this thing is it's a very short one, just 3-4 hours, 9 to 1, and Kupadino. So all the details are already posted. So please join that, and then we have some other plans going forward. We'll announce that. So some of you have been asking, after this, what next? There's a lot next. It is an ongoing journey. So we'll talk about that. Okay. So now let us chant one round of Hare Krishna mantra together, and then we'll proceed for the Vishnu. Okay, so please repeat after me. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara, Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. And we'll all chant together. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare